Bobcat kittens are so cute. I think we should paint one. Let's get started. Take your spray bottle, spray your pans of paint here, put some water in your palette. Let's start by using our liner brush. Now we will start with painting the Bobcat kitten's eyes. And we'll load your brush with sap green. They're a green color. So the eyes are about right in the middle of the page. And just make a circle. They're about that size. And then about a fingertip away, do another circle. And this is the start of our kitten. Now we can adjust the color a little bit later, but we're just starting the first layer of the colors. Now let's clean our brush. This one looks a little bit smaller than the other one. Make it a little bit bigger. And it needs to be a little bit more greener. Like that. All right, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now let's load our brush with burnt umber. But first, let's put some white on our palette. There's some light brown on this kitten. And it's nice to have some of this white on our palette. And then take some of the burnt umber off to the side here. So now take some burnt umber and put some on your palette there. And let's mix a little bit white and get a lighter brown. Now let's start doing part of the nose. It's that light brown color. And we want to leave a little bit white around the eye. We're going to develop it a little bit more. Bring it down. And then there's the nose. The kitten's little nose. And then it comes down. There's the nostril. And there's some more of that brown color around here. Let's bring this color up here. Now I'm going to use a lot of that brown. And I'm going to add some of the darker. This is the start of the ear here. Need a little more paint. Load your brush as needed. And the ear comes up here. Like that. Bring some of that color over here. Now on this other side, the ear is a little bit down. It's not sticking straight up. It's a little bit down. And there's a white spot there. So I'm going to dab a little white spot like that. Bring some of this color down here. And around. A little more over here. Now I got it a little dark, but that's okay. You can just use some water and kind of wash it out a little bit and dilute it. And then there's some of the hair that comes out towards the side like that. Now we need to put some of that color on the other side here. Now I made it a little bit darker, and that's okay. And I like when it's that you can just use some water and spread that paint out and work with it. Spread some of that color out along here. Down here. Down below. We're just getting the basic structure of the kitten kind of sketched in to see where things are going to go. But let's give it a good dry first. Okay, let's work on the eyes a little bit more. So around the eyes, there is a dark color. So let's use our burnt umber here. Put some on your palette and mix some ultramarine blue. I want it to be a more rich brown. And it outlines the eye here. Comes around. And a little bit over here. Like that. And some of that color runs a little bit down here. Just adding some water to fade it a little bit. Bring it down to the nose. And do a little bit on the other side. Let's fade this line a little bit here. A little bit over here. Carry some of that color up here. Now the nose does have a little pink color to it. So right here on my palette, I'm going to add a little crimson with a little bit of the burnt umber. And make the nose. And it's a triangle type of shape. And then a little circle here where the nostrils are. Then it gets a little darker down here. like that. And the nice thing with watercolor is you can make it kind of gradually fade. And we want to do that here. So I'm going to make that gradually fade. And sometimes, you know, with watercolor, you can change it and adjust it and just relax and take your time when you're doing your painting. Don't rush it. Now, right here is where there's some whiskers, and we're going to add those a little later. But there's some dark spots where those whiskers are. So let's add a little bit of those. You know, and if they're too dark, you just add some water. And then you can always dab it a little bit. If it's too dark. Okay, let's work on some of the ears here. The ears are a little bigger. We started to build that shape there. So let's take, I like mixing the two browns, burnt sienna and burnt umber, to give it a kind of a rich color and make the ear a little bigger here. They haven't quite grown into their ears yet. And with watercolor, you want to have that dark and light contrast. So we're making some light and dark shape. And there's some hair in here and some kind of like lines. So I'm going to use my browns and add a little more sienna. And then a little more burnt umber. And I want this to be a little darker, so I'm going to add some of the ultramarine blue. And then sometimes I like to add, just wet your brush so the paint's a little more watery. Need to add a little more water. I want it to be a little more a little more see-through. Building a contrast. Again, if it's too much paint, you can just even wipe your brush a little dry and lift some of that up. Let's add some of that dark color over here. And up here, there's kind of some lines, little stripes, little dark and light colors. And add some of that over here, over onto this other ear. Some more of those lines. Bring some of that color down here on the side. Down below. Some on this other side. A little bit more up here. Down below here. A little bit down here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now let's work on the the eye here a little bit. Now there's a dark pupil there. So to get that darkness, take some burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And add that in there. That has a little bit too much blue. Need to add some more burnt umber. And you can always test your paint on your paper towel there to see. Yep, that looks a little more brown. Need to add another one here, like that. I think I need to make this eye a little more round. So I'm going to spread some of the brown a little bit where the green is. Just a touch. Now on this ear there's some little fuzzies and it's real light. So I want to use my white here I have on my palette with my brown. Make some little fuzzies coming out of the ear. Like that. That's looking pretty good. And just dab it. I want it a little bit lighter there. Just faint like that. That's looking pretty good. Okay. Let's give it a good dry. And then when I look at this, I see some lighter and darker, but I want to add a little more darker around the ear and some darker spots. But I don't want the paint to run, so I'm going to dry it. That's good. So again, to get that dark color, let's use our burnt umber and our ultramarine blue. I want to put some really dark right on the tip here. A spot right here. Wet my brush a little bit, and then on the other side here. Right on the tip of the, like that. And then a little below, above the eye, there's some dark spots. Right there. And there's some right off the side of the eye, right here, like that. A little bit over here. And need some on the other side here. Some of those little dark streaks. Like that. That's looking pretty good. All right. And let's just add a little bit by the nose right here. And on the other side here. Okay. Now this, go ahead and clean your brush. And now we're going to add some leaves. And the cat is looking out. I'm going to put a leaf here and a leaf here. So we're using our bigger brush, our round with pointed tip brush. And let's start with sap green. So let's add a little yellow ochre to our green. Give it some complexity. So let's put a branch, a leaf here. And then a couple over here. There's a branch with 3 branches sticking out. That, and one right here. And that little kitten is just peeking out, looking at you. Curious, playful kitten. Like that. Now let's stop and give it a good dry. Then we can add some details and variation to it. Okay, let's add some detail to these leaves. When you look at leaves, they have veins. So here's our first layer of paint. So we want to add a little darker layer. So we use our sap green. And we add a little yellow ochre to it. And we'll add a touch of burnt little more. That's a little bit too dark. Just another shade darker than there. We'll add the vein. That's about right. Add some vein to those branches. Some over here. Like that. And then maybe there's some little yellow spots on it. So let's add a little lemon yellow. Maybe some light is shining on those leaves. Just to give it some little variation. Just a touch. Touch of yellow showing through. Like that. Now for the last part of this painting, let's add the whiskers. And they are a white to almost gray. So put some white on your palette. And use your liner brush. Load your liner brush with your white. Now I have some brown on here, and I can take some of that brown. But to make it gray, we want to add some of the intense blue. That's looking gray. Now that's a little dark, so I want to add a little more of my white here. Yeah, now that's more of a light gray. And add some of those whiskers just coming out. And add some on here. That's a little bit too light, so I want to make that a little darker so they show up more. So you have to play around with it a little bit to get the right. But that's the fun of it. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit kind of a gray color. Like that. Those fun little whiskers. He's peeking out at you and saying, come play with me. Come join me in the fun. I hope you're having a fun day, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Hope to see you next time.